How you doing, guys? Just can you just let me know that you can hear me before we start, because I don't want to be rambling for 20 minutes. Awesome. Casey, how you doing? G, how you doing? Jesse, what's happening? Jimmy, Robert, JT, Nordic, welcome. So I'm not going to stay on for too long. It's been a while since I've had a chance to sit down and just ramble about the markets a little bit. Every time that I try to get things set up, so I can just basically be in front of the computer and do what I need to do. I've got so many things going on at the moment. I'm finding it, I don't want to say difficult. It's not difficult. It's just I have to prioritize what I'm doing because it's important, right? So with that said, right, I want to talk briefly about, Bitcoin, Binance, what's some of the things that I feel are going to be, going to be coming soon. I think today we're predominantly going to be talking about Binance because, to be fair, I don't think Binance is in good shape at all, right? And I'm not talking about, so I'll make the clear distinction now about Binance. I'm not saying that Binance as a company, okay, is not doing well, or that it's, in dire straits, or that there's a problem with the exchange. But it doesn't matter whether there is or there isn't. Predominantly, the chart for me is basically where it's at, right? And we know we've already dipped into this LP down here. It's showing zero signs of any relief. Bitcoin basically had a nice little run recently, almost at it did actually pass through 31K. Binance isn't moving, and the point I'm making is, regardless of whether the exchange is making billions in profit every year, it doesn't matter. The narrative is still being put out there. People are still going to react to that. And you'll be surprised. You could say, well, most people, and throw your questions in the chat, by the way, if anybody has any questions, and don't forget to like the stream. But most people might say, well, crypto enthusiasts and people who are involved in cryptocurrency are a little bit smarter than the average person. They don't fall for crap like that. They don't believe what they read. You'll be surprised. A lot of people, all it's going to take is one down candle and people are going to start panicking. There will be some buying. People will take advantage of that. But I think we're going to see 200. But before we talk, too much about sort of Binance, I want to talk a little bit about Bitcoin, obviously, because, we're getting a lot of relief up here. And you can see that this level right here, this main level, which I'm going to change the color of this. I'm just going to make it like white or gray or whatever. If we just drop down to the weekly chart, this is basically where it's at. You can see that this is a very significant level. Comes in around about 30,000, and you can see it spent a lot of time here. There's a lot of work done here. There was some work done here, some work done here, work done here, and work done here, right? So it's an important level. One way or another, this needs to get traded through if it's going to continue going higher, or it needs to come back in, and we'll probably get a little bit more slop and sideways crap and whatever else. The thing about Bitcoin, obviously, it's a bit of a dark horse because it could just rip out of nowhere, but it could also drop out of nowhere. One thing that I absolutely want to make clear, because I've had this gnawing back and forth with a lot of people, right, who believe that Bitcoin is going to be like this insane bullish bull run. But I think one thing people forget, and this is the cornerstone of everything that I'm saying, right, and that is world events, the way the narrative is being pushed, the things that are coming. Inflation is rampant. Mortgages are basically being defaulted on. There's going to be foreclosures. There's going to be a liquidity crunch, and all of this is going to push people that are invested, whether in Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency market, the stock market, doesn't matter, whatever asset class you're invested in. If you need to liquidate to survive, you will, right? Period. If you've got 10K, and sorry, give me 1 second, guys. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. My wife's got something playing in the background, and it's just, I don't know what it is. Sounds really loud. Sounds like people screaming. But if you're in a position, right, say you've got 10K saved, yeah, it's no stretch to think that there's many people around the world, that have, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, dollars saved or invested in crypto or invested in the stock market, that if things get so bad that they are behind on their payments, or things start to get pretty aggressive, or interest rates continue to go up, so obviously mortgage payments go up, for most people. I know some people are on fixed mortgages, but for most people it's going to go up. Credit cards, people are living paycheck to paycheck. There's a lot of people in this situation. So ultimately, when that really kicks in, they're going to sell, man. Like, people are going to sell. And there's a very fine balance between big players, right, who need exit liquidity, or big players that want to make money, from their investments in Bitcoin. You've got miners wanting to extract profits from the market, through the Bitcoin that they've mined, because obviously it costs them money, to be mining Bitcoin. It's, it's all well and good saying, well, okay, you've got a mining farm that is basically mining $200,000, a month in Bitcoin. And then the expenses, let's say for argument's sake, the electricity is half of that, so 100,000 in overheads, and they've got 100,000 profit. But if they they go out of business, basically. That Bitcoin needs to be liquidated. Now, most of it's OTC, so they'll have a running pipeline and say, okay, look, we mine about 100, we basically mine 200,000 Bitcoin, every month. Our Bitcoin basically goes into this pool, and there's a bunch of OTC players out there, large investors, large players that will say, okay, we'll buy it at a small discount, or a large discount, depending on how much we're buying from you, and that's the kind of relationship that they have with large players, so remember that miners have to sell their Bitcoin, right? Whether it's open market or spot market, or whether it's OTC, they have to sell it to pay their overheads. Yeah, otherwise, they need very, very, very deep pockets, So the point I'm trying to make is, people will liquidate, right? So we need to remember, okay, that there's not many people out there that have the ability to invest in something, okay, and then leave it for 5 years. Yeah. It'd be great if everybody was in a position to be able to do that, but unfortunately, then they're not. And basically, if we just use a scale of 100 people, because it's just easy math to work with. So you've got 100 people. There may be 100 people in a 6-month period that can hold their investments, but then on month 7, 8, 9, and 10, you're going to lose 30 of those people. But you've still got 70 people that can hold for a year and a half. Once that year and a half passes, there's another 20 or 30% of those people that basically say, okay, look, I need to sell, and then as you continue going, by the time you get to that 5-year deadline, that 5-year sort of projected, I'm going to hold for 5 years and see how things, see how things go. You've only got 5 people left. Yeah. So we have to think creatively about these things, right? So let me just quickly go back to the chart. Sorry, guys. So this level up here, very, 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 very simple charting analysis today. Yeah. Needs to get above 32,000 convincingly. All right. Straight through this. And I mean, boom. Yeah. Otherwise, we're going nowhere. If we go to the monthly chart, we can see that we're effectively just slowing down this month. We've got some pretty aggressive news coming next week. We've got core CPI. Is it core CPI? Yeah, we've got CPI, core CPI, and obviously core PPI and PPI unemployment claims Wednesday, Thursday next week. The other days, not really much to shout home about. Basically, Wednesday and Thursday next week, should move the markets a little bit. But again, I'm not expecting that much movement within the cryptocurrency market, because crypto is being manipulated massively manipulated, right? So got to break through 32, really start to go. If it doesn't do that, we're probably going to get more of this slop. May pull into around about 28k, possibly 27, but I think we're going to be hanging around this level. If we just drop down to the daily, you can see what that looks like. Nice little pop, pretty much slow down. If we don't get that secondary pop, and a continuation through 32,000 to start to drive towards 34, 35, 36, we're probably just going to come in a little bit and end up around, sort of back down here at 28,000, because this level is being rejected, basically. Now, Binance for me, and I'll use this chart. This is not looking great, to be honest. Almost no relief here. Nothing. Nice drop. 4 sideways weeks, including this one now, obviously, this week today. I say this week today, this week that we're currently on, basically closes out in the next couple of days. Weekend, again, not expecting anything, spectacular. We could see some news that hits the market, but we all know what's going on with Binance. Obviously, they're being, hounded by the SEC. People are basically walking away from them now. You've got people that are actually leaving the company. And again, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. CZ saying, no, it's not for the reasons that are in the news, in the news and the media. That's fine. It doesn't matter. People are still leaving. Yeah. So if people are still leaving, especially now with the SEC and everything that's going on with, with Binance and them, people are basically just going to put 2 and 2 together and just say, yeah, this is not looking great. I do feel very strongly that we're going to end up back down at 200 on Binance, probably as low as 160 and that magic 148 number. But again, as you guys know, obviously, I'm looking to basically relaunch around the week of the 15th, as we said. I told Mike that I think we're probably going to be down below 200 when we launch, which would be fantastic. I really hope that happens. Obviously, I don't want anybody to lose money. Don't take that the wrong way. But in terms of a relaunch, that'd be very, very cool. So that's it. I mean, there's not much else. Obviously, stock market's just tearing to the upside. If we just take a look here, at the S&P, this is pretty steep. I mean, you could see that we had a correction here, yeah, fine, but we can see this like pretty steep parabolic move, or almost sort of capitulatory move at the top here. Really nice drop, really nice correction, reversal. My expectation is that it's going to go through all-time high, to be honest. And then we'll get that kind of final capitulation. It's going to be an interesting one. The stock market's very, very interesting right now, and what's happening makes absolutely no sense. This is going up on thin air, yeah. And dare I say it, this could take years before it actually unfolds to the point where we see this really aggressive crash. But I think it's still coming this year, to be honest. What else? Dollar 102.28 monthly looks absolutely beautiful. Probably going to see a continuation. Still have $100 on the cards, so I'm very I'm very confident that we are going to end up down here at $100 at some point. We came close, but I want to see that $100 get hit parity. And there's not much else I want to discuss really in terms of markets and stuff, like other markets, unless there's anybody that wants to go for anything. But let me go to the question, see if there's anything that anybody's asking. I wanted to ask you about BCH. That was an interesting 150% gain in the past 30 days. Let's take a look. I don't normally look at Bitcoin Cash, but I'll take a look. Let's see. Which one should we use? We'll use the most manipulated one, which is basically Coinbase. Let's stick this up here so it's near the rest. Let's have a look. Yeah, that is. I mean, you can see obviously that it's a pretty decent one so far. I'll be honest with you. Like, let me give you guys a little bit of a lesson in engineered manipulation, right? Because there's manipulation and there's engineered manipulation, right? Engineered manipulation. Well, I'll start with manipulation. So just normal market manipulation is where people look for an advantage and manipulate the market, right? And when it's being done by large players, they generally tend to walk away with a lot of money, right? Engineered manipulation is manipulation that is being engineered specifically for a purpose, yeah, by a very small group of people, right? Or institutions or large players, right? And that's generally what we're seeing here. We're seeing engineered manipulation, right? This pop, right? The first thing people think of when they see a pop like this is an impulse. It's not a momentum-driven move, meaning it started to grind up and started to really start to ramp, and then bang, it off it goes. It's not momentum-driven. This is just, we're going to engineer a pop, right? Or an impulse on Bitcoin Cash that's aggressive enough and sharp enough and meaningful enough for people to buy it, right? So normally I wouldn't care. I'd be like, yeah, it's fine. You know what? This is just a normal impulse, bit of manipulation by market makers, whatever. And you just get on with your day. But because of the conditions that we are going through right now in terms of the markets, global markets, inflation, all of the above, right? The things that we keep banging on about. When I see things like this during month, Sorry, when I see things like this during market conditions like this, it concerns me, because I'm like, well, why is Bitcoin Cash moving? You know, wouldn't it make more sense for people to be putting their money into Bitcoin? You know, so I mean, I would never buy Bitcoin Cash ever under any circumstances, right? I've got no interest in this whatsoever. You know, it is, for me, you know, it's kind of second rate. But if you're going to buy anything, you're going to buy Bitcoin, because that's the one really, you know, that is going to be, you know, in years to come, the one that most people will gravitate towards. You know, Bitcoin Cash is not, it's irrelevant basically when it comes to the, you know, when it comes to Bitcoin itself. So this is more of engineered manipulation that is being used to get people into Bitcoin Cash. For what reason? Obviously money. You know, if you follow the money and you really dig deep and try and figure all of this stuff out, you can probably figure out where the money's coming from and where it's going. But having never traded this, having never invested in this, having zero interest in this, purely from a charting perspective, this is just a pop and that's it really. There is something else that I actually want to address. Let me. Okay, well, sorry. How's gold looking, LSP? I'll take a look at gold in a second. Money Mike, what's happening, man? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Yes. It has been, man. It has been. I enjoy your posts, mate. You know, when you comment on my videos. But there's something that I want to address really quickly, and then I'll take a look at gold. Right? You know, somebody that I know, I've known him for years. And I said to him that I'd talk about this in a, you know, in a live or in a video. So I'll just quickly go over this now. So basically, he messaged and he said he's got a thesis, yeah, that we're now in a not stock market that is totally manipulated and driven by central bankers. That I agree with, right? If he's listening, that I agree with. It probably has about 6 to 8 years left before there are no markets in a way we are used to. Right, that's an interesting comment to make, right? So I also believe at some point in the future, the markets that we're used to, the way that we are used to trading those markets, and the way that we're used to, you know, engaging, you know, in buys and sells and, you know, trading spot or investing, it is going to change dramatically, because the introduction of CBDCs, the introduction of a universal blockchain, you know, the introduction of FedNow and some other services that are going to be coming, the introduction of wallets, you know, that are going to be the only purpose for those wallets are going to be, you know, you have to use this wallet to basically purchase goods and services through, you know, your particular country with their digital currency and so on. It actually makes me laugh, because to be honest, it's quite sad to see that people defend central bank digital currencies, or they defend, you know, the idea of this democracy, or they defend this idea that governments actually care about us, you know, and that this is not going to be absolute total control, right? Of course it is. Of course it is 100%. Yeah. There's no question about it. It is 100% going to be control, period. Even if they say the only thing we care about is you never buying Tesco value bread, right? Because we think it's bad for you, right? Everything else is fine. But you know, your wallet will not let you buy Tesco value bread because we think it's bad for you. Yeah. Well, that's fine, but it's control still. You're still controlling something, and that means that the CBD has the ability to be controlled. It's out there. They say it. We know it has. But anyway, I digress. Let's go back to what I was saying. I don't feel, and I agree with my friend, that the markets are going to be, you know, very, very different, you know, and not, doesn't mean that they won't be tradable or investable, or, you know, or that we can't invest in them. But I do feel that we're probably going to end up, you know, as he said, in a situation where the markets will be vastly different, and we will have to seriously adjust the way that we engage in the markets, right? And again, that depends, because listen, there will always be markets to trade, because if there's markets to trade, there's markets to manipulate, and if there's markets to manipulate, that means that there is a lot of money to be made, right? So just remember that as well. A tactic right now would be to pump Bitcoin up just past its all-time highs when it doesn't make sense, technically speaking, right? So what he's saying there is basically, you know, it would make, you know, it like everybody's expecting Bitcoin, you know, to, well, not everybody, but, you know, have this kind of divide. A lot of people believe that Bitcoin is going to go down. A lot of people believe that Bitcoin is going to go up. But what he's saying is, you know, it would make sense to him that for Bitcoin to basically go up to all-time high, all right, this will spark all of retail to pile in, you know, as the likes of BlackRock, etc., dump the price down again to around about 40K before we carry on up in 24 and 25, i.e. 2024 and 2025 for the last bull run ever. right? After that, it will be commoditized services on blockchains with AI and robotic, and most services and most service companies in the stock markets will vaporize. Just my thesis on the fundamentals, and then he goes on to about some personal stuff. But so basically, what he's saying is quite doom and gloom, really. But he's basically saying, that we could see an explosive move to the upside or an aggressive move to the upside, however that looks, towards all-time high. BlackRock basically dumps all of its, Bitcoin holdings, makes a shit ton of money, hovers around about or stabilizes around about 40,000. And then that you get that kind of secondary impulse, or third impulse in this case is what it would be. If it did happen that way, probably just as a quick, off the top of my head, it will probably be wave 3. Yeah. If those of you who follow Elliott Wave, because I know he does, so I'm just trying to think the way he's thinking. Probably be a wave 3, with a 4 and a 5 being somewhere around about 170,000 Bitcoin. Anyway, and then hovers around 40k, and then you get that kind of last hurrah. Really goes last bull run ever, and then just absolute total control. Now, what do I think about that? And this is directly to him. I think there is some merit to that, but I also don't feel that we're going to get an all-time high before that happens. I feel that we are going to get a drop to the downside because Bitcoin needs to be controlled in some manner. We could just see Bitcoin grind to the upside and just keep going forever, right? There's so many different variables and possibilities. And you guys know I don't just get married to these ideas and say, oh, I'm right, period, and that's it. I'm expecting 11,655. This number mathematically is absolutely perfect in terms of technical analysis and the analysis that I do. All right. You guys have seen me pull out some insane calls, and that number right there is mathematically perfect. But if it doesn't get there, I don't care. I will not get married to this number and say I'm never going to invest in Bitcoin. But I just want to see Bitcoin do something that makes sense to me if I'm going to start buying, right? Because again, many of you guys know I don't care if I buy it at 40,000, 30,000, 32, 35, 36, 11,655, 20K, 24. It doesn't matter to me as long as I get it basically somewhere around here, right? If I buy Bitcoin somewhere around here and it goes to 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, I'm very, very happy. Very happy. Yeah. So it's not about having the most Bitcoin. You are never going to compete with these big boys ever, right? So just do what's right for you and your family, and make sure that you're investing safely, right? Gold. What do I think about gold? Gold had a nice little run, obviously. This last correction there is basically just scooped up whatever remaining liquidity was there, stopped everybody out, picked up a shit ton of liquidity, and obviously, really nice run to the upside. 2000, well, basically, I was saying 2-1. If you remember that tweet, I said 2,100, but probably going to stall around about 2,080 on the money, right? Just there. And then obviously you get a really nice drop. I think it will stabilize here, but I do think that gold will probably end up around about 150 to 22 on the next leg up. The dead giveaway is basically this here. That's pretty aggressive. That's an aggressive and very steep and very deep correction. This went down for a purpose. Yeah. I still need to go through the COT data, as I said I was going to do, and go back a couple of years and see what the holdings are. But to be honest, I'm not really seeing anything else that gives me confidence that gold is going lower. I feel it's going to stabilize and then basically just continue to grind higher. Silver's an interesting one. May as well throw that in there as well. It's stabilizing around about 22, 23. I've actually been buying silver. I've been trying to buy as much silver as I can. 20 grams, 30 grams. 1 troy ounce, and so on. Mainly troy ounce bars. I can't remember the last one. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to grab it. So I'm actually curious now to see whether it was what was it? Sorry if you can hear the bags and stuff. Yeah, it was 20 gram bar. No. All right. That's fine. Yeah, so it's a 20 gram bar. So basically I'm just trying to buy 20 gram bars, 1 ounces, etc. I've been picking up maples as well, silver maples, Canadian maples, coins, etc. So yeah, just stacking as much as I can, and then when I'm ready, I'll start stacking Bitcoin. But for now, I'm not interested in anything like that. Can you do analysis of the S&P? Yes, I can. Surge. And hi, by the way. So S&P, as I was saying, I actually said this previously, but you might not have been here. This was, capitulatory in nature. You see this very steep correction, really nice explosive move to the upside. It basically corrects perfectly, right? And come on, let's just not mince words here and go around in circles. The fact is, it went straight for an LP. Period. Responded very nicely. You can see the pickups here, pick up, impulse. So what's interesting about this and what makes me believe, as I was saying, that it's probably going to go for all-time high and go straight through this is because there is an impulse right there. After 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pickups, monthly pickups, right, of liquidity. So this is an absorption and accumulation of liquidity. Yeah, what we're seeing here, and we can actually see it even clearer on the weekly chart. There's your drop, there's your LP, picks up buy side, drops deep, LP absorbs, drops again, absorbs, pick up, pick up, pick up, pick up, pick up, pick up, and then you get that impulse into this LP. So there's a little bit of distribution happening up here, but it's very, very mild. We're not seeing this bang and like everybody's piling in to basically sell their positions to basically take profits. That's not what we're seeing. What we're seeing is more accumulation with very mild distribution, right? So they're just offloading a little bit while still maintaining a heavy long position. So we're probably going to see continued movement to the upside before we ultimately and I did say, Serge, that this could carry on for years, to be honest. I'm not expecting it to. I think this year we're going to see something pretty dramatic. But if it didn't happen this year, I wouldn't be like, wow, I'm so surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all, to be honest. But this is basically just going up on absolute nonsense. There's nothing sustaining this whatsoever. Nothing. We're going through a current financial crisis here that is so systemic in nature that when it happens, it's going to affect everything globally. My only concern is in terms of trying to think ahead, is that they may very well be in a position to implement, and I say they, I'm talking about global, these global, whoever they are, these people, right, who basically want to do CBDCs and all of this other stuff. It is possible that they're going to introduce a system in years to come that when the crash finally happens, or should I say when it finally happens, that a crash is not needed because everybody's basically stepped in line. You see what I mean? And that huge transfer of wealth won't need to happen. Yeah, because it's being done. It's like basically saying, okay, we don't need to crash the markets because we're just going to basically make fiat obsolete, and you're going to have to use our CBDC to survive and to buy, the things that you need to buy. So think about that statement. Yeah, they wouldn't need to crash the market and take all of your worthless fiat because they've said we're not using fiat currency anymore. It's not going to happen. But I'm just saying we're not going to use, you don't need to use your worthless fiat currency anymore. So we don't need to take it from you. Yeah. And by the way, download our app, and don't forget to bow when you pay, anyway. I digress. I'm going to start going into crazy stuff. So we'll leave it at that. So that's the analysis. Been on for about half an hour. I'll hang around literally, guys, for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. If anybody wants to ask any questions, anybody wants to go for anything, more than happy to, to answer questions, go through the normal stuff. I am going to try my best to start doing more of these, but again, it is very challenging, for me. And ideally, what I would love to do is to just have everything on one platform. This is why I'm waiting for Twitter to basically activate my subscription so I can just literally turn everything off. The Patreon I won't, though, because there's tons and tons and tons. There's 170 videos on Patreon. I don't want to turn that off. And actually, they're releasing a massive update on Patreon. That is basically going to be very streamlined, and really, really good for digital, for digital products and services. Yeah, I'll take a look at the queues, man. No problem. Trust series. What on earth is that? Let's take a look. There we go. Oh, that's interesting. What's this? Did I have something on this chart before? No, I didn't. Post. Okay. I mean, not dissimilar to the NASDAQ, really, to be honest. What is this? I'm not familiar with these symbols and stuff. I don't normally have them on my chart. I mean, look, it's strong, man. If we go to the futures market, you know, or even the NASDAQ, NDX, you know, it is strong. Yeah, the NASDAQ is strong. And it's a little bit, it's basically leading the market, right? The tech sector is leading the market, obviously, with all of this AI stuff and some of the other craziness that's happening. And that's not a good thing. Yeah. Right now, if you look at it on the surface of it, you could say, well, okay, it makes sense, right? That tech is leading, right? And financials are lagging a little bit, which is probably why the S&P isn't, you know, as strong, you know, in terms of its daily movement and weekly movement in terms of ranges, ADRs, and average daily range, average weekly ranges, than the NASDAQ is. And that's fine. I get that. But then when you kind of take a little bit of a deeper look and you look at the forget technicals, you actually look at the, you know, the ratios, you look at what's being released, you look at the earnings, you look at PE ratios, you look at the core fundamental values and metrics, right, that make up some of these companies. It's like, wow, it's insane. They're so overinflated. It's ridiculous, right? So there comes a point where these fundamental metrics, right, you know, there's a point of diminishing returns where it's like, okay, there's only so far out we can take the madness in terms of these metrics and how stupid and overinflated they are before the market says, no, this we can't have this. And then it corrects to bring them back down to where they need to be. This has been happening ad infinitum forever, right? So definitely something we need to pay attention to. And again, I think just to answer, you know, just to give you a little bit more insight, no clue. I think the NASDAQ's pretty much going to do the same as what I was saying with the S&P. We'll just get continuation to the upside, you know, ultimately until the world wakes up and the things that are happening that are very broken. Yeah. People realize that they simply can't be fixed without a crash, without some cataclysmic event. And there's obviously war. I mean, war is very important, you know, in terms of fundamental analysis. And I believe that there will be at some point, you know, a war will break out. I think that's inevitable at this point. And obviously we're going to see the effects of that in the market. In the past, let me put this up on the screen. In the past, when Bitcoin halves, it comes out bullish. Additionally, each year after the halving has been a bull market. Do you agree with this? And if so, do you see the same thing happening next year? Yeah. I mean, look, the halving for me, when I looked into previous halvings, it's not always just like, okay, the halving came and then bullish. There's actually a dip first. You know, the market, or in this case, Bitcoin, you know, goes down sometimes, and then you get this kind of extended move because of the halving, right? But I think this time is a little bit different, because this halving is right in the middle, right, of a global change in the way, you know, commerce is going to be done, in the way financials are going to be done, in the way that people are going to be engaging with, you know, central banks, in the way that taxes are going to be collected from people. There's a lot more technology now, or blockchain technology now, being used by the governments, yeah, to instill something in the next 2 to 5 years. So this is slightly different. What you can basically put it down into two things, right? There are those that believe, these heavy maxis, right, that Bitcoin is going to solve the world's problems. Okay, and I'm not here to go on about yes or no and what I think. It doesn't matter. As investors and traders and people who try to be smart, we take a step back and we say, look, we don't care about the whys. What we're interested in is looking at the parties involved and saying, which one of these parties is going to be right? Yeah, because they're the ones that we need to be following. They're the ones that we need to basically be paying the most attention to. So you break this down into two basics, right? And that is, the maxis believe Bitcoin is going to save everybody, right? And that it's going to basically do all of this amazing stuff. And then you have basically everybody else who believes that, Bitcoin is just, another opportunity to make some money through an investment. It's quite unique. It's worth holding some, but at the end of the day, if it goes up and, and I'm up, 20%, 30% on my investment, I'm gonna basically close out and move on, right? So they're not dieharders, basically. They're not going to basically accumulate tons and tons and tons of Bitcoin and then basically be buried with it. Yeah, because we've heard this madness as well. Never ever sell your Bitcoin. Just allow yourself to be buried with it. And I absolutely don't see the point in that. I know they're going to all the metrics and the reasons why and blah blah blah. I don't care. At the end of the day, pass it on to somebody. Do you know what I mean? Like, why would you want to be buried with your Bitcoin? You're not doing humanity, a justice, because 99% of Bitcoin is being held by a very small group of people. So what difference does it make? Unless those people are philanthropic in nature and truly deep down in their core, going to pull off one of the greatest miracles of all time, in the sense of, doing something spectacular for humanity as a whole, which is very unlikely, then Bitcoin is going to be controlled like every other asset class. So to answer your question directly, I think it will. I've always maintained that Bitcoin is going to hit 100,000 because it's a realistic target. It actually makes sense. Anything after that for me will be a bonus. But obviously, we don't know when it's going to happen. This is just the way it is. Just to clarify, you think it's going to hit all-time high instead of hitting the upper portion of the LP and then capitulating? Yeah, I mean, look, if I go back, Serge, to the S&P, there is an argument to be made. This is why it's a bit challenging for me now, because before we corrected quite deeply, right? Pick up a buy side, and then obviously right there, that's the problem. This is a problem. This impulse, because it starts another move. Yeah, that's the problem. It starts another move. Now you can look at it in two ways. You could say the start of this move here is going to be the last portion that absorbs all of the remaining LP before you get basically this, right? And then, a capitulatory move, a big aggressive drop. Or there's enough of an impulse here to start a nice fresh move to take out all-time high, right? And the only way to work that out is to basically monitor the 4-hour, the daily, and to see where the pickups are. Forget gaps because they're just imbalances, and to see how the futures market is kind of moving around, and to see the holistic view of all markets in terms of indices, US markets, and how global markets are being affected by, the strength or weakness of the US market. Obviously, we've got to factor in the dollar as well, which is getting weaker, which makes it very difficult for these large companies to do business, sort of internationally. It means it costs them more money, which means profits go down, which means overheads, which should be continuing to go up. It causes a problem internally, right, with these companies. And these are all metrics that we can measure. So again, I think we're slowing down up here. We've seen enough of an impulse to say, yep, it's a nice fresh move. And I've seen enough slowdown to believe that it is probably going to end up grinding through the remainder of this LP and then potentially a little bit higher, or as high as all-time high, right? But I'll monitor all of this stuff. If I see anything change, I'll tell you. Then bull market in 2025, possibly. Yeah, I think we will see a bull market, but it just depends on what that looks like. Again, guys, we have to keep tracking everything. I guess if you look at Bitcoin the way that, traditional investors, old timers look at the S&P, just buy it, basically. Just buy it every year and hold it, and if you buy and hold the S&P, you're pretty much going to outperform, most markets. So that's been tried and tested, and it is an absolute proven fact. Yeah, that the S&P has done very well year in, year out, and it's outperformed, pretty much every other asset class. On average, that is, yeah. You can look at Bitcoin the same way. Buy, hold, and it will probably outperform, every other crypto asset that you buy, right? There are spots where you can basically, capture nice movements. Maybe, there's some great projects out there or some great blockchains that you really, really believe in, and You buy into something. You guys know, obviously, I was talking about CHSB. Waited forever, for CHSB to get down to 11 cents, and I bought it at 11 cents, right? That portion that I bought down at 11 cents is currently up. Great, fantastic. If Swissborg does really well and it really, really goes, great, fantastic. I'm not going to be selling my CHSB at any time, but if it gets to a point where it's super meaningful, yeah, I'm selling. Because this isn't Bitcoin. This is a utility token, right? That I will be holding a portion of to take advantage of whatever services Swissborg is bringing out. But ultimately, it's an investment. It's also a trade, right? Whereas with Bitcoin, that's not the case. I mean, Bitcoin is like, okay, look, Bitcoin has a lot more going for it. It's different metrics, different ideas, different things going on with Bitcoin. And it's predominantly one of those, you just buy it, you hold it, for the next 5-10 years, and you're probably going to be in profit, right? So to go back to the comment, the bull market in 2025. I mean, yeah, if you basically buy Bitcoin now, I'm just leaving. This is not financial advice. I'm just giving you a hypothetical, and held it for, 2025. You're probably going to be up on your investment, to be fair. The one thing that we can say is Bitcoin is not going anywhere. I'm going to say this now. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. I believe that Bitcoin is going to be used to enslave humanity. That seems like a really bizarre thing to say, but if I broke it down for you, and I mean like really broke it down, number one, the video would get basically taken off YouTube, for breaking the guidelines or whatever, and number two, it would just take hours and hours and hours to kind of break all of that down and really try to get people to understand why that statement is even possible, right? But anyway, we can definitely make money from it. Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's grim, Jeep, but it really isn't, because if you think about it, let's look at this from a slightly philosophical point of view. Isn't any market that we are currently invested in, enslaving us anyway? You've only got to go on Twitter or crypto Twitter or some social media sites or YouTube to see that there are some insane cultish ideas when it comes to Bitcoin, right? Like this kind of fringe mentality. And that's not to say they're wrong. I respect everybody's opinion. I could be talking absolute crap right now, but those maxis who are so hell-bent, right, on Bitcoin, are they not enslaved by this Bitcoin already? I know it seems like a cop-out what I'm saying. You can always say that about any market, right? But it's not grim. It's just the way of things. Anything that basically pulls you into a point where you start to defend the asset with your life, that's when it gets scary, because it's like, dude, it's just Bitcoin, man. Like, calm down. You don't need to drive your car into my car, get out, and then start throwing like ledgers at me. Just chill out, man. When people become aggressively opinionated, that's when there's a problem. We should all be open to talking about these things in an open and calm way, discussing ideas with each other. I mean, I really love Bitcoin University. It used to be called Traders University. Matthew Crowder, or whatever his name. Yeah, Matthew Crowder or Crowder. He does some great information on Bitcoin. And he has a problem with. He's got a problem with Binance. He's got a problem with Ethereum. He's got a problem with basically anything that isn't Bitcoin. But when you listen to him, he has valid points. He backs it up. When you listen to Data Dash, yeah. Nicholas Merton, he backs up what he's saying with facts, even if it's something you don't want to hear. But then there's other people out there that basically just, Bitcoin is going to save us all. Okay, well, why is it going to save us all? Because it just is. It's Bitcoin. Okay, yeah, I mean, it's one of those, you switch off basically. So we need open dialogue. We need to be able to communicate with each other. And more importantly, we just want to make some money. Let's just be honest, right? Most people want to invest because they want to make money. Christopher's saying, do you think the crypto market stays or will it end? No, the crypto market will be around pretty much indefinitely. If nothing else, because it's the perfect weapon, actually. And you look at the cryptocurrency market, that may or may not be around in the form that we know now. But cryptocurrency and blockchain technology is absolutely a weapon. and can be used and utilized as such. And when I say a weapon, it could be both ways. You know, the penny is mightier than the sword, for example. Something you write can do more damage than a sword could. Yeah, just like cryptocurrency can be used for good, and cryptocurrency can be used for nefarious purposes. So it will always be around. When a winter comes, I'm scared the market will stop. Nope, the market's not going to stop. If the market stops, big boys can't make money. Remember that. Do you think crypto ends? What if it happens? The coins delete themselves? Yeah, the coins aren't going to delete themselves. So think about it like this. So if you have one blockchain, we'll use Binance Smart Chain. So you've got the Binance Smart Chain. It's on a bunch of nodes, and validators, and everything's running seamlessly, whatever. Now, let's say there are 1,000 projects on that Binance Smart Chain. If everything goes off and Binance ceases to exist, as long as those nodes and validators are still running, right, the blockchain's still running, which means the projects are still running. The value of those projects obviously will go down and will get decimated because the value of those projects are paired to BNB, right? The coin, which is on the Binance Smart Chain, right? So that coin, its value is derived from the dollar. BNB is paired to the dollar. Projects are paired to BNB. So people will sell their BNB because they want to get out. They're panicking, whatever. The value of BNB goes down, which means the LP of every project out there will also get decimated. But the projects will still be active. Yeah, I appreciate that, Jason. I'll try to make them informative. It could just end up with a classic double top. It could, Serge. Yeah. I know you're talking about the S&P, but I agree. Yeah. It could. There's many variables. I stick to my guns when it comes to my analysis, right? But that impulse, I don't like it. You know, the impulse that I was showing you on the monthly chart. And unfortunately, because it's the monthly, it just takes forever to unfold. You know, so the only way to track that is to look at the daily, the weekly, you know, drop down to the 4 hour and compare analysis with the 15-minute, hourly, 4 hour, and see where that confirmation of flow comes from. You know, because if basically the hourly is confirming pickups of buy side liquidity, for example, and that spills over into the 4 hour, which also shows market structure. Well, no, if it shows pickups of buy side and then impulses to the upside, which confirms the monthly, then we're likely to get that move to all-time high. If you're looking at the hourly chart and you can see, for example, sideways crap, price goes up and then it drops, you know, and you're seeing distribution events where on the hourly or the 15-minute chart, probably better on the hourly, where price is basically going up and it's snapping back, going up, snapping back, going up, snapping back. You can see it's just distributing up there. There's a distribution event happening over and over and over again in that massive monthly LP, which means the confirmation of flows is not necessarily to the upside, and you may very well get more slop and then a crash, yeah, or at least an aggressive drop to the downside, potentially a flash crash, which would recover pretty quickly, I'd say. So I need to track this. I've got to track it now for weeks. We'll see what happens. What's crazy about this run into this LP is that the yield has been inverted for over a year. The LEI is in recession territory for almost a year. Yeah, I mean, look, and this is my argument, right? So these metrics that we measure the markets with, you know, if you take them at face value and you say, okay, look, I believe that these metrics are correct, right? And you kind of impose those metrics on the markets, and then you look outside of the market at what's happening basically in your local area or within your specific state or within your specific city and so on, you'll notice that the effects of those metrics, right, are either getting better or worse around you, right? I still haven't seen any uptick in anything getting better around me, right? I'm still seeing things have steadied off a little bit, but we're starting to see a little bit of insanity hitting people now. Just recently, my brother-in-law was taking a video in a local store where people were basically fighting to get to, you know, this, I think it was a refrigerator or refrigerated goods, like lunatics. If you remember during COVID when people were going crazy over toilet paper, it was like that. And it's like, why are these people acting that way? You know, it's because things are on sale, things are cheap, and they want to save money. Why do they want to save money? Because they're desperate. Why are they desperate? Because things are crap. You know, are they going to get better anytime soon? Probably not, right? because all of the things that you've just mentioned in your message are still there, and inflation isn't going anywhere. They are going to start increasing interest rates again. The next one's going to be an increase, and that will spill out globally. We're probably going to end up about 8-9% before the end of the year. I reckon they're going to do something really stupid, to be honest. I really do. It feels like a really bad crash will happen if it goes for a double top. Yeah. I'm not discounting that at all. Would you consider going into more details about BTC that you said it would be shutdown in a format that can't be shut down? Many would love to hear your thoughts. I'm so confused about that. Give me a sec. All right, I think I get what you're saying. So look, think about Bitcoin like this, right? The thing that makes Bitcoin unique is that there's tens and tens and tens of thousands of nodes around the world, right? And the network is built by people, okay? And all of those things are active. So let's say that you own Bitcoin. Right now, its value is derived by the US dollar. So if you want to sell, you throw it onto an exchange, you swap it for dollars, you off ramp that, and then obviously you go and use that fiat currency for whatever you want, right? But what's interesting about Bitcoin, and nothing else does this, is if the dollar ceases to exist tomorrow, Bitcoin, your Bitcoin is still what it is, right? If you're holding one full Bitcoin, then whether the dollar's there or not, it's still one full Bitcoin. It has the ability to be able to be used, okay, to price things in, just like gold. Obviously, with gold, it was weight. With Bitcoin, it's Bitcoin, Satoshis, whatever. So if you priced everything in the world, let's just take a local store and say they sell 5 items and each item is worth X amount, right? So, item number 1 is 0.1 Bitcoin. Item number 2 is 0.5 Bitcoin. Item number 3 is 1 Bitcoin, and so on, right? Then you're pricing those goods, right, in Bitcoin. And as long as people are happy to pay that price, you can exchange your Bitcoin. And then obviously then it then becomes its own currency effectively. Bitcoin has the ability to be able to do that. And this is the argument that maxis are making, that it has the ability to basically do that regardless of whatever's happening in the world. And to be honest, people are, I tell you what's interesting about Bitcoin. You can actually create your own mini economy with Bitcoin, right? You could, within your group of friends, people, and then it would slowly start to expand outwards, just only do business in Bitcoin, converse in Bitcoin, engage in Bitcoin, buy and sell in Bitcoin, have your own goods, products, and services, and say, I only accept Bitcoin. That's it, and just ignore the dollar aspect of Bitcoin and just literally use Bitcoin purely for that purpose. It doesn't matter how much it costs. It doesn't matter what I paid for it. That would be an issue. People would say, well, wait a second, because you bought your Bitcoin at like $1,000 and I bought my Bitcoin at $30,000. Yeah. So the value that I'm giving you is way more than you're giving me, etc., etc. That would be a problem. But ultimately, if you remove fiat, Bitcoin has the ability to be able to do that. Now, in terms of switching it off, if everything goes off in the world, flick a switch, no internet, nothing. Electricity goes off, everything goes down, done, right? Then it's not going to matter because it's down for everybody, right? But when the electricity comes back on, the network comes back on. There's no real way to effectively turn Bitcoin off, yeah, in a sense. Because if you were able to turn Bitcoin off, then we've got much bigger problems, yeah, in the world, and Bitcoin really isn't going to matter because we're probably going to be fighting for our lives, yeah. So to go back to your question, should be shut down in a format that they can't shut it down. Yeah, they can't really. They can't shut, Bitcoin can't be shut down effectively. And because it has the ability to become its own currency, as long as people are willing to buy and sell in that currency, i.e. Bitcoin, then it has immense value, on that front. But again, we're a long way away from that. Question: do you start new next week, RMTX and RFTX and airdrop? Yeah, we'll discuss that, sometime next week. I mean, we're looking to basically closer towards the 15th. But yeah, so probably next week I'm going to start doing, a few bits and bobs, and I'll jump on a call and we'll go through a bunch of stuff, get everybody on the same page, and we take it from there. Evergrow, I'm not sure what that means. I heard they released this quarter Lunar Sky and Atlas Wallet and EGC staking. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, Christopher, I don't even care, to be honest. I just don't care. There's so much going on. I mean, good luck. If it works, great. If it doesn't, whatever. What you mean? Let me read this one. What do you mean they do something very stupid? You mean worldwide digital currency? What do you mean they do something very stupid? Yeah, I'm not sure what you're referencing, Jonathan, but probably that. Yeah, I mean, right. So think about it like this. Let's say there's 50 countries in the world and each one has its own digital currency, right? And then there is there is a global network that all of these digital currencies are able to move on. Something like Polkadot, for example, which is a layer zero, network that has the capability to bring all of the networks together, right? So there's an interchangeability between everything, right? Which is amazing. That's fantastic. But they're not going to use Polkadot. They're probably going to use their own sort of system, and they're already in the process of building that anyway. So those 50 digital currencies, right, are going to be able to be interchanged in between country to country to country, right, using said blockchain. So inevitably what happens is, let's say there is a slow pickoff of a currency every 6 months. So 50 becomes 49, 49 becomes 48, 47, 46, 45, until eventually you arrive at one digital currency that the entire world uses through one blockchain, through one app, through one purpose, or for one purpose. That is basically ultimate control. Now, many people look at that and say, well, it's just a stupid conspiracy theory. Maybe so. But if you look throughout history, whenever there is a technology that has the ability to control people, there will always be somebody or some people or a group of people, right, that will try to seize that and use it for that purpose. This is why people resist. There's always going to be people that resist. There's always going to be people that say, no, I'm not having it, forget it. And Bitcoin has the ability, you guys know I'm not a Bitcoin maxi, but Bitcoin has the ability to stop this from happening. Because ultimately, if a government says to you, listen, you've got to use the digital pound, right? It's not really a CBDC, but we're going to call it the digital pound. All right, fine. You've got to use it. I don't actually, because I can just pay in Bitcoin and there's nothing you can do to stop me because I can send Bitcoin on any device, whether it's online or not. So what are you going to say to that then? Well, no, you have to use the digital pound. All right, yeah, I'm going to use the digital pound. Fine. Well, okay, that's good. And then I'll just go and pay in Bitcoin anyway. So interesting times ahead, man. Interesting times ahead for sure. I hope that answered that question. Yeah, man. Thank you for doing these spaces. Do you use trading bots? And if so, or if not, why? I don't. I built a couple of EAs, which are basically expert advisors that I used to use on MetaTrader 4. Just basic stuff. The reason I don't is because I trust myself more than I trust a computer. And then to take that one step further, or a bot in this case, to take that one step further, I don't trust my ability to be able to code a bot well enough to do the job I need it to do to make money, right? And then I certainly wouldn't trust other people to do that for me. Trading bots they're interesting, but they didn't really pull me enough. I think the analysis that I do, I've become so attuned to the markets that lifetime of trading, investing, learning, and so on I wouldn't change that for the world. And I would much rather do it that way than the way Ray Dalio did it, for example, where he kind of went through this process of doing exactly that, creating investing bots and, algorithms and systems to basically take the emotion out of trading, and make billions and billions of dollars, right? So it works both ways. Me personally, like I said, I prefer, to not do it that way, and I've basically just done it myself throughout the years. Being away for a bit, EGC switched direction on me, so I lost faith. Would that hold true with you? Look, I'm going to put this Evergrow thing to bed now, right? Because I went from obviously discussing Evergrow for quite some time. you know, I basically kept a lot of people from buying all the way down to that kind of magic number 37, if you remember, or 32, whatever it was. I can't even remember anymore. You know, and I think over time, Evergrow became, or has become, this kind of like, it's almost like Groundhog Day, you know. And I just thought, you know what, I just don't care. I don't care. Like, and when I say I don't care, I care that people are invested in Evergrow coin, and I really want it to do well so people can make money. But I am so busy, right, that I lost interest in tracking it or keeping up with it, because it makes no difference to me anymore. You know, there's, you know, if they release the Atlas wallet, fantastic. I really hope it does well. But Dive Wallet's out, you know, and all of the major players out there are producing some amazing stuff in terms of wallets. And, you know, Trust Wallet's going to get better. You have there was another one as well that's recently been released. I can't remember what it is, but that's another great wallet as well that does pretty much everything, if not more, you know, than what Atlas Wallet's doing. And I think the longer Evergrow take to bring the things out that they're bringing out, you know, the faster and quicker people are basically just, I'll say it to you like this. They introduced that they were going to be, you know, bringing out Atlas Wallet. Okay, great. The time that it's taken to bring out Atlas Wallet has given all of the competition time to basically build a wallet, release it, and then move on to something else. You know, that's the issue. The longer the longer you wait, and the longer it takes, the less you have in terms of what's the word? The specialness of your product, right? Lunar Sky. I mean, NFTs are basically getting pounded right now. You know, people, I'm sure there's definitely an NFT market still. There's plenty of people buying and selling, you know, right now in terms of, NFTs, but they've taken an absolute pounding. Seen what, I'm sure you guys have seen what's happening, you know, what's happening with Bored Apes and all that stuff. You know, people are slowly turning off to these types of things, and they're looking for other opportunities. You know, cryptocurrency is moving so fast. It's like release or don't. If you don't release in time, then somebody else is going to release for you, and then that product will be better, and then something else. You know, you said, what was the other one? EGC staking. So staking, for example, you know, Brew Labs has been around for a very long time, and they've been staking from day one, basically. You know, and they offer the ability to be able to, you know, go to them and stake. We will be doing the same thing. Obviously, we would be staking way before, you know, Evergrow even decided to do staking. But staking is an interesting one, because the only way that staking works is if people or projects have faith in you and trust in you to use your platform, basically, right? And it has to be pretty unique. So to answer your question, you know, have I lost faith? I wouldn't say I've lost faith. It's pointless me talking about it anymore, really. You know, I'm so busy with other stuff, and I've got so much going on right now. And for me, I hope it does well. I really, really do. I've got absolutely no issues with any of the team over there. But I can't remember. I'll be honest with you. I can't remember the last time I read an Evergrow tweet, to be honest. I see like Rocket, he posts some stuff sometimes. And some of the other people that I've obviously become very good friends with over the years, you know, I see them post on Twitter and whatnot. But as far as Evergrow, the project is concerned, again, it's just, I'm just too busy to keep on top of it, really. I agree with you 100%. Yeah. At the end of the day, how you doing, Lobo? At the end of the day, EGC isn't producing anything that's useful right now. It's all crypto related, which is a market with really bad prospects in the short midterm. Yeah, I agree. And this is, I mean, you guys know I've been banging on about, you know, off-chain money for years. You know, this is not new. I've been talking about this from day one. You know, cryptocurrency. Like, if you put all your eggs in one basket and say, okay, look, I mean, if you're gonna do that, right? If you're gonna stay within cryptocurrency and say, okay, look, I'm really going to go for this, you know what I mean? Because I really believe in cryptocurrency. Then what you're producing, the service or the product, has to be so good, yeah, and so unique that people just have to come to you, yeah. Otherwise, it's like, well, it's just a wallet, or it's just staking, or it's just a marketplace, or whatever. The one thing that they are doing, which is pretty unique, obviously, is the I can't even remember what it's called. You know, the virtual reality thing. What's it called? Yeah, my brain's gone. I can't remember what it's called, but the virtual reality thing that they're doing with the is it the aspect or aspect or something? But that's pretty cool. That's pretty unique. And pull that off, great, whatever. But what did I say? If anybody was paying attention, yeah, the metaverse. What did I say about 9 months ago? I said Sony, Apple, Samsung, Google, you cannot and will not be able to compete with these companies, right? And they will absolutely 100% be bringing out the metaverse, a much better way to basically engage, you know, through virtual reality using, you know, the tech that they've got. You're not competing with that. You're just not. You're building an echo chamber basically that nobody's going to want to use. Relative to staking, can you discuss the difference in a project using supply for staking versus the token for staking being purchased and funded by the project or its utility? Let me see that. Let me read that again. Relative to staking, can you discuss the difference between, or the difference in a project using supply for staking versus the tokens for staking being purchased and funded by the project or its utility? So if you're using the tokens, right, you're effectively doing a very kind of evolved buyback and use, basically, not buyback and burn, but buyback and delay. We'll say it like that: a buyback and delay. And if anybody coins that, I said it first. All right. In fact, I'm going to trademark that right now. 1 second. I'm just kidding, man. So it's like a buyback and delay. What you're doing is you're using staking, or you've set staking up in a way, right, where those tokens that are in supply, sorry, those tokens that are basically part of the, you know, the fluid supply, and the tradable supply. So people buy and sell and so on, and some of that goes into the staking, then it comes out and so on. It's almost like a fluid. It's like a fluid evolving LP, you know, that keeps volume ticking and keeps revenue being generated by the fees of the, you know, compounding or the taking out or the buying, you know, or the adding and so on, right? Using the supply, if you say, okay, look, I'm basically going to take a chunk of that supply, and it depends how you use the supply. So if you have X amount of tokens, you launch, and then you say, okay, this is the supply that we have left. You know, this is allocated for this. Then this is at the beginning. This is allocated to the LP. This is allocated to the team. This is allocated for funding, you know, and this is allocated for staking. If you do it that way, then those tokens don't affect your project because they've already been accounted for, and then you can stake. If you have to find tokens from an already existing supply, then I want to be careful how I say this, then that's a problem for me, because that means you have to do shenanigans to basically find tokens, yeah, that simply aren't there. The abstract, nice one, Lobo, nice one, that's it. I said the aspect, didn't I? Yeah, the abstract, yeah. So going back to what I was saying, you have to find tokens, which means you have to sell some of your supply. You have to use your already existing supply. You have to use tokens that are allocated for something else, you know, and so on. So that's a problem. That's a problem. It's effectively static versus dynamic supply. All right. If it's accounted for and you know what you're doing, it's fine. If you do dynamic staking pools, I think that's dangerous because you can manipulate staking pools that way. They're not fixed APYs. A staking pool should be fixed APY. And if you don't do it that way, then I'm not going to say the next bit because I'm going to give something away and I don't want to do that. But you have to be careful. You have to be careful how you do staking because you're going to get yourself into trouble as well with authorities and governing bodies, especially with the SEC. Wow, an hour and 10 minutes. And it feels like 10 minutes. So yeah. And you know what? I haven't looked at, I think the last time I looked was when I was on the last live, wasn't it? With Evergrow. I did look at SDX though. The SDX is doing all right. I saw that going up. Nice. Very happy to see that. Lovely. I'll be very happy when this app comes out, the delivery app. Really looking forward to this. If you're listening, JB, tell me when it's ready, man. What was I going to do? So what's the LP at the minute? 19. Okay. Let me get rid of this. I can't stand these volume bars. 43. I think the last time I was looked at it was at 39, was it? Yeah, it was about 39. So roughly where it's at now. I mean, it's one of those things, you know, like I'm not a fan of looking at charts like this and saying, oh, you know, it's no good. Because obviously they're still building and they're still doing stuff. And this goes for any project, obviously, when it looks like this, it looks horrible. But you have to kind of look past a chart like this and look at the fundamentals, the team, what they're doing, all the stuff I normally talk about. But yeah, that's just basically continue. I think this is just going to be a slow bleed, and this got nothing to do with people selling. It'll just be Binance goes down, you know, and so will Evergrow, just purely based on the fact that it is paired to, you know, BNB, and that goes for every project. You know, unless you can kind of hold it up by buying and, you know, kind of holding and I don't want to say manipulating because that's a bit of a harsh word, but this goes for any project. If price is going down at BNB and you're basically buying the token, you know, to stabilize the price, you know, that's fine. It's a tool, you know, in your toolbox. For example, at the beginning of a project, if you just allocate tokens to set up a certain staking pool versus the token actually buying the tokens on the open market or utility that is buying. Yeah. And I think I answered all that, Jason. You were probably typing while I was talking. On the open market, that would not make a difference as far as sell pressure. It depends, because if you have, for example, an influx of continuous small buys and then they're getting staked, right? That stabilizes the price and it removes tokens from the circulating supply. But then once those tokens come back into the circulating supply, say somebody, you know, has a I don't know, a 3-month staking pool, it expires, people take their tokens out plus whatever they've earned, you know, and say, do you know what, I'm quite happy that, you know, I've made a pretty decent amount in that 3 months, I'm going to sell that, right? So you know, that selling pressure is going to hit the chart 100%, and it will you know, affect the project. It would have to be pretty significant, and there would have to be quite a lot of people doing that all at the same time, you know, but ultimately it will definitely affect things. On the buy side, it's slightly different because you've got more people that are likely to buy smaller amounts of said token and then stake it than you would people removing tokens unless they're desperate, because the whole point of staking is to leave it there to take advantage of the full, you know, the full period of time. So I hope that answers your question. It's been about 1 hour and 15 minutes. I'm going to call it there unless there's another question that comes in the next 30 seconds, which I will wait. And then I'm going to go and make myself a nice cup of tea. And I think this session was needed, to be honest. It's been a while. And yeah, all good. Who's messaging me now? Yeah, whatever. Sweet. All right, guys. So I'll leave it there. Thank you very much. As always, you guys know I don't take your time lightly. You know, staying with me for 1 hour and 15 minutes, you know, is always appreciated. And I hope you guys have gained something from all of this, and I hope there's I hope to do more and more frequently. We'll say it like that. And with that said, have an awesome evening or morning, wherever you are in the world, and I will speak to you very soon. Ciao for now.